that the state has declared banking organizations affected by the emergency in the city may close their offices at their discretion. So obviously bank offices down in lower Manhattan affected by the tragedy, pretty good chance you'll see them closed, but she's also urging those who can stay open in the city, in Manhattan, to stay open, to help New Yorkers, to help tourists get on with their daily doings and having money in their pocket. Also, we've gotten a lot of calls here in the newsroom from people who live in the Queens area who've seen air traffic over John F. Kennedy Airport saying, wait a second, we thought the FAA closed all of the nation's airports today, early today, including Kennedy. That is true. These are not commercial planes you're seeing flying in and out of Kennedy. These are Army Corps of Engineer workers, doctors, investigators, National Guard troops coming in, also coming into Stewart Air Force Base. And as we heard Senator Schumer on the phone saying he was trying to fly in, but he couldn't get in yet until the necessary people here critical to the rescue, critical to the investigation, critical to the health issues, they have first choice at those government seats coming in. I'll send it back to you. Ernie, Angela.
Thank you very much, Dana.
CBS 2 reporter Vince Dementri was in 7 World Trade Center about 45 minutes before it actually collapsed today. I know he was actually talking about what was there or what wasn't there.
Yes, describing it as a war zone.
Yes, as a war zone. And something about he's got great gut instincts as a reporter. Something made him move. And thank God he did, because as I said, sometime later, very short time later, number 7 collapsed. Vince is joining us now in lower Manhattan. Vince, how are you tonight?
Well, about as good as anybody can be. As I mentioned to you earlier, Ernie and Dana, and I'm sure Angela, by now you know many of the people that are missing in law enforcement and the fire department are friends of mine, and that brings me to what I have to tell you. It is very sad news, and let me qualify it first by what I'm about to say. I don't want anyone to interpret that I'm devaluing in any way any of the civilians who are lost at this point. But I've been told by sources that they believe at this point, right now, they are lost and feared dead are many of the top brass of the New York City Fire Department, at least one of the top brass from the New York City Police Department, and no less than 3 of the top brass from the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. That said, there are also hundreds of officers and firemen who are unaccounted for. I'm also told by sources that they are literally going from station house to station house for the fire department, doing a head count, precinct by precinct for the New York City Police Department. I'm also told that military heavy equipment will be brought in, bulldozers, cranes, things of that nature, to go in there as soon as they possibly can. And to bring us back to where we began, as you were talking about, yeah, I was there 45 minutes, and in hindsight, I guess what made me leave was when those windows began popping out, and I mean, they didn't fall, they popped out of 7 World Trade Center. In hindsight, I guess maybe that was the inclination for us to get out. But this is what we saw. Take a look. When you first saw it and walked up to it, you heard it as you were racing to it, but to see it's another thing. What's the first thing that went through your head just after initially seeing it?
I just wanted to cry, to be honest with you. It's terrible.
We are in an abandoned skyscraper, and quite frankly, I don't even know where I'm at. I see a sign outside that just gives me a reference of Barclay Street. As you can see all around here, the windows have been blown completely out. And as we take a walk towards the front of the building here, you want to take a look outside. If you have never been to war, like I have never been to war, then this is what it looks like. We don't know what that building is. We don't know where this building is, but they're obviously on fire. Maybe there's a chance that they could collapse. I've been on this earth for 37 years. I've never been to a war, but I can only imagine that this is as close as I've ever come.
It's an unbelievable sight. I've never seen something like this. And I'm 20 years on the job. This is the worst I've ever seen it before. It's unbelievable, the devastation. We got burnt cars. We have the top of the World Trade Center toppled onto the street. We have possible. We don't know how many people are missing right now. We don't have that number yet, but I'm sure that there is.
I've heard reports that there are just bodies littering the street.
Well, there's reports of people trapped inside the building, but we haven't, we haven't gone. We can't go in yet until the fire's under control.
More debris falling from a nearby building, the World Trade Center. We're at West Broadway and Barclay. Very difficult to breathe here, but look around. This must have been ground zero where this thing blew up. Car after car after car, buses, completely obliterated and burned straight down to the steel. Behind me, that gaping hole, that's where one of the two towers stood. It's not there. And as you can see above me, the fire in this adjacent building just continues to rage. It's a surreal environment. It's almost impossible to describe, again, except to make a war correlation. Whoever said somebody declared war on us, it certainly looks like it, doesn't it?
That building I was referring to that was on fire, I didn't know at the time what it was. I learned later, and also learned just how lucky myself and my photographer Terrence were. That was 7 World Trade Center. 30 minutes after I got out of there, it collapsed. 30-some stories. I have one other note that I just want to put by. This is probably the darkest day in the history of New York City, if not the history of the United States. But if you're looking for some inspiration, just 10 minutes ago, I wasn't too far from where the Tower number 1 and Tower number 2 went down, and I saw a car completely covered with soot. And on that car, somebody wrote, "This won't stop New York." So if you're looking for inspiration, hang your hat on that. Ernie, Angela, back to you.
That is the
Indeed.
spirit, indeed,
Yes,
that we've been
yes.
hearing about. Vince, before you go away, I wanted to ask you a couple of questions. You were talking to one of New York's bravest, and they were talking about not being able to go into the buildings to be able to do their work until those fires had been under control. What's the status right now? Are they able to go in there?
No, not at this point. Still smoldering. And it's not just the fires you have to be concerned about. You have to be concerned about the structural integrity of the buildings. You know, I mean, you see the silver building over my shoulder here. 7 World Trade stood next to that. The windows there were completely blown out. We don't know what it's done to the foundation. Again, I mentioned it several hours earlier. You want to rush in and do everything you possibly can to try to bring people out. But at the same token, you don't want to send 2,000 to 3,000 rescuers in there to have them killed by 1 or 2 more buildings that collapse suddenly.
From the people you've been talking with tonight, what does the next 24 hours, the next 48 hours look like?
Well, the next 24 hours definitely looks like doing their best, consulting with engineers, getting any hot spots out, trying to assess the structural damage to any surrounding buildings. Once that is done, it's deemed safe to go in. They're going to go in with heavy equipment. They're going to go in there with search dogs, cadaver dogs, and they're going to go in there with hands and feet and shovels and picks, and they're going to do everything they can to bring as many people out alive as they possibly can.
Vince, one more question. You may not have any information on this, but the issue was raised earlier in the day since we've been on the air here for so many hours. What have you heard, if anything, about biological entities? There had been that issue raised earlier that perhaps anthrax and the like might have been part of this attack today. What have you heard?
Well, certainly there's a lot of concern of that around here. I haven't heard anything concrete where there is definite I won't even say speculation, definite feeling, if you will, that they believe that some sort of biological terrorism has been used. There's all kinds of speculation as to what has happened here. Was the plane loaded with explosives? Was the plane enough in and of itself to crash in the building to bring those 2 towers down? Because you'll see the video, and you've seen it 100 times. It looked like it was a controlled implosion. It didn't fall over. It looked as if somebody put TNT all throughout that building. It pancaked from floor to floor to floor.
Yes.
So, of course, there's speculation here that maybe these planes were loaded with C4 explosives or some type of explosives on timers, that if the plane itself didn't bring it down, that charges would go off and that eventually what happened would happen. But as far as biological attacks go, yes, it is a concern. How great of a concern, I don't think at this point.
We'll be learning more about that, I'm sure. A lot of questions, perhaps not the answers that we want right now, but in time, we know we will have those answers. Vince Dementri in Lower Manhattan, thank you for your report. We will get back to you.
Yes.